welcome back to my channel. I'm Juliet and this is Capital Books. And today it's my birthday. I'm not sure when I'll be uploading this, so my birthday was on August the 24th and I thought it would be a nice idea to share with you guys my core books. That is to say, which were the books that shaped me as a person. I'm turning 19 and I thought it would be cool to share with you guys my 19 books that have shaped me as a person. And yes, these 19 books are my favorite books. And some of them have been left out, specifically books like Harry Potter or Percy Jackson or Shadowhunters, which were very important to me as a reader as I grew up. And those books are the reason why I'm here as a reader, but they're not on this list. So, in no specific order, here we go. The first book for today is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I used to be a huge Sarah J. Maas fan. I'm not anymore, but still her books mean a lot to me. This is my second favorite book of all time. If you've read A Court of Mist and Fury, you know why it's on this list. But if you haven't read it, and you are a dreamer, then I would definitely recommend it. It's not a book that I say that every fantasy lover should read. Many people have not enjoyed this series at all. But to me it's just different. It means a lot to me personally and who I am as a person and who I got to be and the things I regretted, the mistakes that I had made and the big dreams that I have. It just brings my personality. It's a part of me. Even though I have my issues with Sarah J. Maas, I cannot help A Court of Mist and Fury to be a part of me. So, to the stars who listen and dreams that are answered. The second book is Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. This one also means a lot to me personally. It's just so nerdy, so honest. It's one of those books about those specific personalities that people don't notice, but who are an entire universe full of surprises and art and magic inside. Alice Oseman is just fantastic because of the honesty within her stories, and Radio Silence is, in my opinion, a total masterpiece. And it has something to tell us. It speaks to me in a way that I cannot describe, and I'm totally in love with that book. Next up we've got The Puppy War by R.F. Kuang. Another one of my all-time favorites, but perhaps I should stop saying that. The Puppy War is just a dark, bloody, brutal fantasy book that you need to be strong enough to read. It's not a book that I would recommend to everyone, but it's so dark, so real, so historically important. It's a mixture of Asian fantasy with history and with things we need to be discussing today. And it's got one of the most badass female characters ever. And it's just one of those strange books for strange people. So I'm in love with it. Of course I'm gonna include the Throne of Glass series on this list because it's who I am as a reader. Throne of Glass is a series that means a lot to me as a person. These 7 books mean 7 years of my life. Literally speaking. They got me into fantasy, they wanted me to become a writer in ways that I cannot describe. They continue to be a home, just as A Court of Mist and Fury. They represent my dreams, my hopes, my fears. And if I had to describe to you who I am as a reader, I wouldn't say Throne of Glass because they are quite problematic, unfortunately. But this series represents 7 years of my life. 7 years of growing, dreaming, wondering, thinking. And they are a time capsule of my life in ways that I cannot erase, even though I have a controversial opinion about the books. Next up we've got A Darker Shade of Magic by Victoria Schwab, which would always represent another home where I can go whenever I need to. So magical, so true, so realistic, so different to everything we're used to in books. Darker Shade of Magic is a book that every fantasy lover should read. It just has a special place in my heart. It's not only about the characters, the world, the plot. Even though I love the story, it's not really about it. It's about what it means to me as a reader, as a person, as a writer, as everything. The next one is my favorite book of all times, meaning Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Absolutely mind-blowing, true, honest, and so freaking deep. As my favorite book of all times, I won't really get into it because I'm sure that I'll mention it very often on this channel. So, Daisy Jones, favorite book, that's everything I can say. The next one is Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. And this one is just special to me in the ways that Harry Potter or The Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit are important to other people. The Name of the Wind is just this thick compound of 1,000 pages full of epic medieval fantasy. And if you like the genre and you like books, that's the kind of story that sticks and that doesn't leave you. And yes, I think that I will always go back to those 1,000 pages without hesitation. Our Dark Duet by Victoria Schwab is the next one on this list, and that's because of the ending. And I cannot spoil it, so there's not much else to say. But as every Victoria Schwab book ever, this novel has taught me about heroes and villains, about the black and white that divides our world, about the morally grey characters that surround our life, and about what it means to make mistakes, to feel like a monster, to want to do better. This book means a lot to me ethically, regarding the topics that it explores, the shades of black and white and grey that make every human being. And it's just so deep in that way for me. And the next book is Sex of Prose by Leigh Bardugo. And how to explain this? This one was just so different. It came to me in a moment where I wasn't expecting it. It was just so sudden, so surprising, so different to everything I had on my bookshelf. And it's a story that perhaps doesn't mean so much to me as a person, but it made me as a reader and as a writer. It was so dark in ways that I didn't know that fantasy deserved to be. The next one is Illuminati because it's just so original, so cool in its format. It has this strange format with black and white pages and codes and transcriptions and interviews and conversations and chats. And it's so different in ways that I didn't know books could be. It's art beyond words on paper. And I never imagined that I could find a reading experience like this one. The next one is Ace of Shades by Amanda Foote because I think that Amanda Foote and I share a lot of things regarding our personality as writers, and it was a part of me in a specific time of my life where I needed something new in literature. And Ace of Shades is simply a lot of fun, and I just enjoy it so much. Next up we've got Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. I'm not one for science fiction, so I wasn't expecting to like it, but Skyward is just so dreamy, so Star Wars-like. And I am a Star Wars fan, and that says a lot about my personality. There it is. And of course Nevernight by J. Kristoff is on this list. A dark fantasy book full of magic and badass female characters and feminism and the LGBTQ community and magic and everything I want to find in a book. Even though the trilogy itself is not one of my favorite ones, Nevernight, like The Poppy War, are just those dark, strange books for specific sorts of people. And that's where I fit. As a history student, of course, there's some historical fiction on this list, and that is The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna, which I will also be talking a lot about here. The Great Alone is a story about war and trauma, not very nice things, but it's still very special to me. It's beautifully written, it's so deep. I feel like I spent so much time within those pages, within that story, even though I probably read it in a day or two. It's one of those books that you dedicate a while to. You read it and they just don't leave. The next one is The Inexplicable Logic of My Life by Benjamin Alire Science, which is just so much fun, so true to teenagers, and there are very few stories out there who truly understand what it feels like to be a teenager, about to finish high school, ready to go out to the world and actually not feeling ready to do that. It's about discovering yourself, and I read it at a time of my life where I really needed it. And it's beautiful, like everything this man writes. The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern is surely on this list. I love stories about the circus. My favorite movie is The Greatest Showman, and I am a person who wouldn't run away with the circus because I'm not that brave, but who loves the circus. And that's the kind of magic I'm all in for. I also want to mention Undy, Darken by Kirsten White, a story that just blew my mind when I was younger. It has a little bit of history and fantasy and a badass female character that, just like other books I've mentioned on this video, was just so dark and brutal, and it was something that I didn't know I could find in literature. And the last one is The Book Thief by Markus Zusak, one of my favorite ones of all times. I don't think that I will ever stop loving The Book Thief. And it just means a lot to me because of the author's writing. Yes, I love the story, the characters, the plot, everything is just a lot of fun, But what makes it special, what makes it different, what makes it meaningful in my life, it's how it's written. So that's been everything for today. I hope you enjoyed my 19 books for these 19 years of my life. And of course, I hope you read them. Tell me what your core favorite books are. I would love to get to know them and get some book recommendations, so leave it out in the comments. Thanks a lot for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscription box if you've enjoyed it and turn on the little bell. Bye!